r/ask Reddit. What did you do that made you question your own intelligence? Fixing a clogged sink by removing the drain pipe and thoroughly rinsing it underneath the tap of the sink I just removed the drain from. My father did something similar. We were replacing our garbage disposal rewiring shit and one of the pipes had a significant drip. We gutted almost everything under the sink. So it's basically just a basin with a hole that opens directly down to the cabinet floor. He put a bucket under the one remaining pipe and it collected around 1.5 gallons of water over a few days while we were still getting parts. We successfully rewired everything. And before he was able to put the new disposal in and put the pipes back, the bucket had to be removed and emptied. This mother ducker took the bucket and dumped it all back in the sink, where it proceeded to flood the cabinet and some of the wiring. The look of resignation on his face was priceless. I did something similar, except there was no problem with my plumbing. The problem was that I poured chicken broth that I had spent hours making down the drain when I was straining it. No soup for me. Edit. Well, at least I'm not the only one. I locked my car keys in the trunk of my car. Hours later when I got my keys out, I proceeded to reenact what happened to my friends, complete with actually locking my keys in the trunk again. That's a special kind of stupid you got there. Know what makes it better? When I was closing the trunk during my reenactment I said, so from now on I'll never close the trunk without ensuring I have my keys. The little beep my car makes when you close the trunk and all the doors are locked sounded more like a small laugh. My co-worker asked if there is lactose in eggs. I thought to myself they both come from the same animal, so maybe. For 5 seconds, I thought milk came from chickens. The fridge is an animal. Eggs go in and eggs go out. You can't explain that. I have a key fob for my car. It's set up so that if you hit the lock button once, it locks the car. If you hit the same lock button again, it locks it again and honks the horn so you know you've locked it for sure. The thing is, I always want to make super sure that it's locked, but sometimes I come home to my condo super late, and my parking spot is right under someone else's window. I noticed that if the key fob was farther away from the car when I hit the button twice, the honk was not as loud. So out of consideration, I would always wait till I was halfway up the stairs to do the double lock honk. What a great neighbor I am. Anyway, after maybe 2+ years of doing this, one time my girlfriend and I were in my condo and I realized I needed something out of my car. So I go down there, but when I get there I realize I had forgotten my keys. Well, I had my phone. So I called my girlfriend and asked if she would stick her arm out the window with the key fob and unlock my car. She mistakenly hit the lock button twice and my car honked really loudly, even though she was all the way up on the 3rd floor. It was only then I realized the honk was always the same. It only sounded softer when I was farther away. Because I was farther away, I have a master's degree. This one is special because it wasn't just a momentary lapse of thought, like so many in the thread. You reasoned that shit out and stuck to your conclusions for 2 years. The problem arises because we rarely have reason to reconsider something we've already figured out. Made some soup on the stove in a saucepan and poured it into a bowl, and some of the soup dripped down the side of the boiling saucepan, so I licked it. Put some hot, boiling sauce into a shot glass to let it cool down for tasting. Do something else for 10 seconds. Spot shot glass. Alright, I wanted to check the taste. Proceeds not to gently suckle on it, but down the still almost boiling, fatty fluid into my mouth like cold vodka. One time I microwaved a single mozzarella stick for 30 seconds. It seemed an appropriate amount of time. When it was done I popped it in my mouth to eat it. It was molten lava hot. As it seared the inner workings of my mandible, my brain began screaming, get rid of it. So I did. By swallowing it, I felt the burn travel down my esophagus and into my stomach. It hurt so bad. It was only made worse by my friend laughing hysterically at me and exclaiming that even dum-dums know to spit it out. A couple of weeks ago, I heard my neighbor's cat meowing, so I responded with a meow of my own. This went on for about 3-4 exchanges until I opened the door and found it was not a cat. It was just another dude meowing back at me. So many unanswered questions. Edit. I did not initiate the first meow. It's unclear whether he did, although I really want to believe a real cat was involved. Also, when you look down expecting a cat and you see shoes, jeans and eventually a weirdo. You black out. Sounds like that start of a love story. I ship it. I once threw a stone high in the air directly above me. Absolutely no reason for that. Just because I could, I guess. Instead of walking away, I kept standing there, looking at the stone falling down until it was too late to move. I still managed to put my hands up protecting my head. Hurt a lot anyway. I don't think I'll ever win a Nobel Prize. I was wondering why that stone kept getting larger. Then it hit me. Morgan Freeman. I once threw a stick up into the air and moved a few feet away and it still came back down and hit me right on the head. Worked in kitchens for over a decade. Put a metal pan in the microwave to heat something up. I did this with one of my dad and stepmom's gold filigreed plates once. I was an adult. I was mortified. I also couldn't figure out how to turn the water off on their toilet when my daughter used too much toilet paper and flooded their bathroom. They love me, but I'm sure they think I'm a moron. Edit. Wow. My inbox. Yes, I know how to stop toilet water now. Thank you for your concern. Haha. Edit 2. If I had known my stupidity would have garnered so much sweet karma, I would have shared it before now. Had a co-worker who had been a chef for 9 years say that we could microwave our inserts because they were stainless steel. One lightning show and a new microwave later. But they didn't fire us at it. Thanks for my new highest ranked comment, Eric. And I agree with the guy below who said it's good that they didn't fire him because he owned his mistake and deserved a second chance. He ended up quitting on his own terms like a year later. 3 times now, I have taken the cap off of a tube of super glue and put it in my mouth to hold it. 3 times. That's just absent-mindedness. Yesterday I was waiting for a friend in a store, killing time googling with my phone. I reached in my right front pocket and noticed that my phone wasn't there. Had a moment of panic. This is while I was looking directly at my phone, held in my left hand. So the right literally didn't know what the left was doing. As long as you don't touch the glue. Are you, like, sticking your tongue in there? I went my whole life thinking the saying was the ghost is clear instead of the coast is clear. M21 just found out yesterday at work, lol. Well, to be fair, your version is accurate, albeit without real situational meaning. How about, for all intensive purposes? Didn't realize it was for all intents and purposes until I was a 26-year-old grown man. I once had a brain fart and forgot that porcupines were animals. I was hanging out with my family and my niece mentioned that her favorite animal was a porcupine. And I laughed for a good long time before explaining to her that porcupines weren't animals. I'd gotten them mixed up with pine cones. I have a graduate degree. My niece was maybe 6 at the time. She schooled me. I once forgot gooses were a thing and said to my friend, wow, those ducks are really big. Edit. Gooses. Geese. Close enough. Geez. Geese. While helping my girlfriend make dinner one night, we needed some lemon juice and she asked me to squeeze a lemon. Now logic would dictate you cut the lemon in half before you squeeze the juice out of it, but not this brilliant mother ducker. No sir, I just squeezed the shit out of it, rolling and palming it in my hand until the peel finally broke, releasing the lemon juice into a bowl as requested. Needless to say, when she turned and saw what I had done, she was amazed, probably by my impeccable ability to follow orders. She then asked how I ever managed to live alone, and I'm pretty sure that's why I'm not allowed in the kitchen anymore. Well, technically you should roll the lemon around and squeeze it up a bit before you cut it. Makes it easier to juice, so you're not a complete idiot. I once had to teach my ex-boyfriend how to cook pasta. He was 21. He also phoned me crying one day because he messed up frying an egg. I drove over a mattress. It was in an alley in a puddle. I thought I would glide right over it. Thing got stuck in my tire well. Had to call a tow truck to lift my car and beat it out with a hammer. Next morning found that it had punctured my front left tire and had to get a new one. Did another dumb thing by thinking I get a whole new wheel, not just tire, so ditched my wheel by the dumpster and then drove to the garage on a flat spare only to be sent home to get my wheel also. It was a bad day or two. And this, kids, is why the wheels of economy turn. This one makes me angry. I'm sure you're a lovely person, but you should ride the bus. Sent a text to my friend telling him he left his phone with me. I have found about 6 phones till now, so I would call the last dialed number and tell them, hey, I don't know who this phone belongs to, but if you can pass them a message to come here and pick up their phone, it would be awesome. I would hang up and get a call on their phone from the person I just talked to tell me that, hey, someone found your phone. Without fail, event once. I did this once. I dialed the last person they spoke with for more than 30 seconds. The lady had no clue what was going on. I explained myself 3x and she finally was like, I guess it could be my son's phone. I told her to look at the number I dialed from and she seemed clueless. I frequently see a man cross a 4-lane road near my home. We have a fairly similar schedule and I see him often. He's well known in the neighborhood and he's deaf. No big deal. I once slowed down as he crossed the 4-lane and driving. Whiteout, downpour rain, and I thought to myself, oh man, he doesn't know it's raining because he is deaf. I'm a sign language interpreter. This made me laugh so hard because so many people have moments like this when it comes to deaf people. You are not alone. Oh right, I shouldn't wave to him. He won't see me since he's deaf. A couple months ago, my husband and I went on a walk. There are a lot of trails where we live and a couple of lakes. So we walked down a trail to the lake, turned left up another trail, and ended up at the top of a street. We start walking down the street and I realize there is a house that has a wishing well in their front yard like we do. I pointed out to my husband and then I realize they have the same truck we do, too. I point out the truck and then I realize that we were in front of our own house. It wasn't my brightest moment. Your story reminds me of one from college that was alcohol induced. It's 1 AM on a Saturday morning, and I received a phone call from my roommate. That's odd. People don't call me. I pick up the phone and the following dialogue with my drunken roommate ensues. Me: hey Evan, are you okay? Evan: no, I can't, I don't know where I am. Me: what do you see? Evan: it's black, and there's lots of tree laying down. Me: you're on your back. Sit up and tell me what you see. Evan: still lots of vomiting sounds. Trees. I think I see a sign. Me: what does it say? Evan: okay, McCanny. At this point, I go to my window and see Evan next to a pool of his own sick. You see, we lived at McCanny Hall, and he had passed out directly in front of our dorm. Trees laying down. I've never been this drunk, but it seems like fun. One time I was thinking about Aqua from Konosuba and I thought natural blue hair isn't real. But what about blue eyes? I have blue eyes, you have blue eyes, and I was questioning their existence. It's because you couldn't see your eyes. I see you're a man of culture as well. I started working with people that are intelligent. Edit. My most upvoted comment in 5 years is about feeling dumb. Super. Here's a shameless plug for r/Surprecess Marine. It is a silly place. That'll do it. I'm doing a PhD right now, which means that I am constantly surrounded by very smart people. A lot of people say that doing a PhD must make me feel smart, but it does the exact opposite. It makes me feel very, very dumb. It makes me feel like I need to work hard all day every day just to reach average. Imposter syndrome. I went to a really good engineering school in Boston. You could probably tell which from my post history, and you really have to become content with the idea of being average or below. That's hard for some folks, especially since 90% of students coming in were among the best in their high school. What helped was marveling at the expertise of others, instead of being jealous. I know nothing about bio or computer learning, or econ, or orgo, but overhearing people talk about it was fun. And MIT has a fairly friendly non-competitive atmosphere, so dormants were always glad to talk about, complain about, their sets. A few years ago I googled, do the people upstairs have a cat? And it has never left me : yours is my favorite in this thread. Went to a bank to withdraw money. Bank teller asked me how I would like it and I said, in cash. Bank teller just stared at me, while my friend is dying of laughter. Meanwhile, I stand not understanding the issue. I did the exact same thing at Subway. Literally just her. What do you want? Me. A Subway? I also said it like she was the stupid one. LOL. What kind of bread would you like? Yes. I was sitting in traffic. and I noticed that all the other lanes were moving while mine hadn't budged an inch. I craned my neck trying to see what the holdup was, and finally figured out that I wasn't in a lane at all, but had been patiently waiting behind a line of parked cars. My dad and I were returning a U-Haul trailer once. He got into the far right lane that happened to be a line of cars parked. I noticed. He didn't. My dad is a pretty cokey dude and gives me a lot of shit when I do dumb things, so I wanted to humble him a little bit. We sat there for a good 2 or 3 minutes. He starts yelling and honking his horn. I haven't laughed so hard in a long time. The look of defeat on his face when he realized what he had done will stay with me forever. Don't touch wet paint. I touch. The best is when it's not wet and you get to feel like you outsmarted them. This is what it's all about. Wanted to light a candle. Struck a match. Changed my mind about which candle I wanted to light, and decided to light a Yankee jar candle instead. Couldn't get the lid off with one hand. Stuck the lit match in my mouth so I could use both hands to get the lid off. Couldn't smell the scented candle. Could only smell singe nose air for days. Speaking of candles, I once thought my candle was making a weird sound, so I put my ear close to it to listen and burned some of my hair. Turns out it was my water bottle making the sound anyway. I'm a doctor. Can't read clocks. Well, I can't read your prescription, so we're even. I still wonder if pharmacists get special training to read doctors' prescriptions. A few years ago I could not figure out if the new electric stove was on or off. I was familiar with flame stoves, so I stuck my hand flat on the heating coil. My hand had burned circular stripes all over it. The stove was hot. You gotta splash a little water on it and see if it dances. Or just a hover hand without actually touching the element. Often when I'm closing a door quickly, I will hold the edge of the door rather than the doorknob. You may be wondering, isn't your hand in the way of closing said door then? The answer is yes. I have slammed my fingers in doors too many times because I refuse to hold the ducking doorknob. I hate when people do this closing my door. The knob is there for a reason. They are the knob. Made a cup of coffee, got out a cereal bowl, poured cereal into my coffee, then put the cereal box back in the fridge. I've got the bowl, got the milk out the fridge, cereal out the pantry, made a bowl of cereal, put the cereal in the fridge, milk in the pantry, then went to sit down on the sofa to continue watching TV. Cereal still on the counter in the kitchen. I've done this. One morning my vision was all blurry, so I started freaking out and called my grandma to take me to the doctor. Then like 20 minutes later realized I just forgot to put my glasses on. I've worn them since first grade and totally forgot for half an hour. I had an opposite experience one time. I woke up and was taking a shower and realized everything was super clear. And holy shit, I can see without glasses. A solid 5 minutes went by before I realized I slept with my contacts in. I can imagine the disappointment that followed. I once forgot to take my glasses off for a shower. At least they got a good cleaning. But dry water marks are the worst to clean off. So this happened a couple days ago. I got home from school tired as hell, so I decide to take a nap at around 5 o'clock. Well, it turns out to be really deep, and when I wake up my clock says 7:50. This freaks me the duck out because school starts at 7:20 and I quickly get changed and sprint out to my car to drive to school. As I'm driving there is surprisingly little traffic, but I don't think anything of it, and I pull up to the school parking lot. It is completely empty and I'm confused as hell, so I walk over to 2 police officers and they inform me that it is actually 8 PM not am, and I realize that I probably look like the biggest dumbass around. I just yelled at myself all the way home about how ducking dumb I am. I'm always the most confused person ever when I wake from a nap. Probably because I'm not used to it. Waking up from a nap for me feels like getting ripped out of time and space. And I don't even feel rested afterwards. Told my friend that the 4th of July celebrations must be beautiful at the place we were. We were in Linlithgow, Scotland, and I was talking about the palace and loch. Friend is Scottish. For obvious reasons they do not celebrate the 4th of July. We blow stuff up in November instead. I'm English, have lived in the US for over 20 years now. Don't feel bad because I have yet to have the 4th of July when someone hasn't earnestly asked me whether my family in the UK celebrates the 4th of July. 9 out of 10 times. It's the exact same person. My mother-in-law. Until I was 16 I thought that dark meat and white meat came from different turkeys. They used to, but after the turkey civil rights movement they started interbreeding and we can now get both types of meat from one turkey. I was in class one day messing around with my stapler. I wonder what'll happen if I staple my finger. Staples finger. Ha, I don't know what I expected. Edit. I feel I should mention I was 16 when this happened. Did the exact same thing at work one day. I wonder how slow I can squeeze a staple out of this. I'll just put my thumb over it so I feel it slowly coming out. Turns out no matter how slow you squeeze they come out pretty dang fast once they snap off. Looked for my cell phone for a good 2 minutes or so. Was in my left hand. I literally couldn't find my phone on the dark. So I used a flashlight on my phone to help look for my phone. Wasn't my brightest moment. Get a brighter flashlight app. I took the wrong train to get back home and didn't realize it until I had already sat in it for more than half an hour. Twice. It was the same wrong train that leaves a few minutes before the train I wanted to take. I used to commute the exact same route for years. A 1-hour drive took me 5 hours until I got home. When I realized that I was sitting in the wrong train again, I cried. Couldn't find my glasses. They were on my face. Also walked into a pole. Not a small pole. A tadpole? When I was cleaning out my shed in the back, I stepped on a rake and the pole smacked me in the face. Literally, like the cartoons. It happened 3 more times before I came up with the bright idea to move the rake. I chose to pursue an engineering degree. I question my intelligence every ducking day. I can certainly relate to that. Moved from a computer-based career to a people-based career after 25 years. Dealing with the personalities, motivations, agendas, social hierarchy and corporate hierarchy. This is some pretty goddamn tough math. Adding to this, some people are naturals when it comes to this kind of thing. When you're exposed to the type of person who handles coordination of this type effortlessly so they can get what they want, it makes you question your competence in certain respects. I once was hanging up paper on a corkboard and the only thing we could hang them up with was thumbtacks. I thought it was a good idea to stick my hand in the bucket of thumbtacks and grab a handful. Every elevator going down in a busy NYC hotel was already full of people, so I decided to go up. When I got to the final floor I accidentally got out of the elevator instead of just staying put. First day of university I go out to explore the campus, only to find the same odd piece of litter in the corners of multiple buildings, almost seemingly strategically placed. Even more oddly, it was the same exact piece of cardboard trash I kept seeing. Strange, but probably just leftovers from an event where the university handed out something stored in them. Upon seeing the 5th or so improperly disposed of piece of cardboard, I take it upon myself to be a good citizen and properly recycle the misplaced trash. A simple enough task that even I couldn't screw up. I casually walk to the corner, kneel down, pick up the piece of trash and I can only imagine what people must have thought after seeing me react to the piece of trash that had somehow outsmarted me, gluing itself onto my skin. I was like a cat with a piece of tape on its paw, flailing wildly, too afraid to scream. The only sound that could be heard was cardboard flipper flaps echoing down the halls. After the 4th or 5th good swing at the air, the cardboard remained permanently affixed to my skin and I had finally begun to realize what was happening. I, a superior intellect, a student of a well-respected university, had been caught by a mousetrap. GG. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.